Hi everyone. A common practice in social research is to explore the attitudes of people towards various conditions, issues, situations, policies, problems, or anything that is of interest or concern to us in our daily lives. The importance of attitudinal scales lies in their ability to help us find out how people feel towards these situations and issues. Welcome to today's video where I will teach you guys how to measure attitudes in quantitative and qualitative research. Knowledge about how people feel towards them plays an important role in formulating new policies and programs to achieve improvement and betterment. For example, how do people feel towards recreational facilities in their community? What are the needs of the members of the community and how important are these needs to them? What is the attitude of people towards an urban development plan for their area? How do students feel about their lecturers' teaching? What are the attitudes of people towards the program? How satisfied are they with the services provided by an institution? What are the problems encountered by tourists visiting this town? Or why do consumers think of this product? These are some of the examples of when we measure the attitude. These are some of the situations that are better explored by finding our attitudes towards them. The exploration of attitudes can be done in a descriptive form where you ask people to describe, discuss, and explore their attitudes towards an issue. This description becomes the basis for ascertaining their attitudes, or you can explore them through the use of the attitudinal skills. There are a number of differences in the way attitudes are measured in quantitative and qualitative research. In quantitative research, you are able to explore, measure, determine the intensity, and combine attitudes to different aspects of an issue to arrive at a single indicator that is reflective of the overall attitude. In qualitative research, you can only explore the spread of attitudes and establish the types of attitudes prevalent. In quantitative research, you can ascertain the types of attitude people have in a community, how many people have a particular attitude, and the intensity of those attitudes. A number of techniques have been developed to measure attitudes and their intensity in quantitative research. But such techniques are lacking in qualitative research. This is mainly because in qualitative research, you do not make an attempt to measure or quantify. The concept of attitudinal skills, therefore, is more prevalent in quantitative research than in qualitative research. It is increasingly used in quantitative as compared with qualitative research. In quantitative research, there are three skills which have been developed to measure the attitudes. Each of these skills is based upon different assumptions and follows different procedures in its construction. As a beginner in research methods, it is important for you to understand these procedures and the assumptions behind them so that you can make an appropriate and accurate interpretation of the findings. It is not very easy to construct an attitudinal scale. Of the three scales, the Likert scale is the easiest to construct and therefore more frequently used. The Thurston scale is more difficult to construct than the Likert scale. The Gutman scale is much more complex than the Thurston scale and therefore far less used in social science. Hence, its relevance for beginners is marginal. If you want to find out the attitude of respondent towards an issue, you can either ask a closed or an open-ended question. For example, suppose that you want to ascertain the attitude of student in a class towards a lecturer and that you have asked them to respond to the following question: what is your attitude towards your lecturer? If your question is open-ended, it invites each respondent to describe the attitude that he or she holds towards the lecturer. If you have framed a closed question which categorize such as extremely positive, positive, uncertain, negative, and extremely negative, this guides respondent to select a category that best describes their attitude. This type of questioning, whether framed descriptively or in a categorical form, elicits an overall attitude towards the lecturer. While ascertaining the overall attitude may be sufficient in some situations, in many others where the purpose of attitudinal questioning is to develop strategies for improving a service or intervention or to formulate a policy, eliciting attitudes on various aspects of the issue under study is required. Especially if you need descriptions, if you need the respondents to expand on their attitude. But as you know, every issue, including that of the attitude of student towards the lecturers, has many aspects. For example, the attitude of the members of a community towards the provision of a particular service comprises their attitude towards the need of the service, its manner of delivery, its location, the physical facility provided to users, the behavior of the staff, the competence of the staff, the effectiveness and efficiency of the service, and so on. Other examples such as the attitude of employees towards the management of the organization, or the attitude of employees towards occupational redeployment and redundancy, the attitude of nurses towards death and dying, the attitude of consumers towards a particular product, or the attitude of students towards the lecturer, or the attitude of staff towards the strategic plan of the organization can be broken down in the same manner. Respondents usually have different attitudes towards different aspects. Only when you ascertain the attitude of respondents to an issue by formulating a question for each aspect, using either open-ended or closed-ended questions, you find out their attitude towards each aspect. The main limitation of this method is that it is difficult to draw any conclusion about the overall attitude of a respondent from these responses. Now, if I talk about the earlier example where we wanted to find out the attitude of the student towards a lecturer, there are different aspects of teaching. The content of lectures, the organization of material, the lecturer's ability to communicate the material, the presentation style, knowledge of the subject, responsiveness, punctuality, and so on. So students may rate the lecture differently on different aspects. That is, the lecturer might be considered extremely competent and knowledgeable in his subject but may not be considered a good communicator by a majority of students. Further studies may differ markedly in their opinion regarding any one aspect of a lecturer's teaching. Some might consider a lecturer to be a good communicator and others might not. So the main problem here becomes, how do we find out the overall attitude of the student towards the lecturer? In other words, how do we combine the responses to different aspects of any issue to come up with one indicator that is reflective of an overall attitude? Attitudinal scales play an important role in overcoming this problem. Attitudinal scales serve two main functions. They measure the intensity of respondents' attitudes towards the various aspects of a situation or issue, and they provide techniques to combine the attitudes towards different aspects into one overall indicator. This reduces the risk of an expression of opinion by respondents being influenced by their opinion on only one or two aspects of that situation or issue. However, there are certain difficulties in developing an attitudinal scale. You are likely to face three main problems. Firstly, which aspect of a situation or issue should be included when seeking to measure an attitude towards an issue or problem? For example, what aspects of teaching should be included in a scale to find out the attitude of students towards the lecturer? Should you talk about the communication, delivery, knowledge, etc.? What procedure should be adopted for combining the different aspects to obtain an overall picture? And how can one ensure that a scale really is measuring what it is supposed to measure? In this case, the first problem is extremely important as it largely determines the third problem. The extent to which the statements on different aspects are reflective of the main issue largely determines the validity of the scale. You can solve the third problem by ensuring that your statements on the various aspects have a logical link with the main issue under study. The greater the link, higher will be the validity. So the different types of attitudinal scale like Likert or Thurston or Gutman provide an answer to your problems. They guide you to the procedure for combining the attitudes towards various aspects of an issue. Through the degree of difficulty in following the procedure for these scales varies for scale to scale. Now, in my forthcoming videos, I will be taking up each scale individually and discussing how you can develop a scale, what are the constructions or considerations that you should be keeping in mind when classifying this scale, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of using each scale. Thank you for watching today's videos. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you soon with my next video.